We're back on a special edition of Counterspin in Quebec City. We've been talking about democracy and trade, and I want to shift just slightly in the rhetoric department to talk a little bit about freedom, because President George W. Bush framed our whole conversation nicely the other day when he said, quote, "Trade not only helps spread prosperity, trade helps spread freedom." So I want to put that thesis to the Counterspin crew and have a little debate about that. Go ahead.
What I want to talk about is exactly that, because the democracy clause may say we don't dance for in the hemispheric summit, but what it doesn't say is that the trade deals create governments that have less and less power and corporations that have more and more. So we have what? The freedom to choose between McDonald's and Harvey's. We have a democracy that says we can pass laws, but if a transnational sues us, we're going to dump them. That's what's wrong with these agreements, is that they create a veneer of democracy, but a reality of corporate control.
You're Elizabeth May, right?
Oh, I forgot to introduce her.
Okay.
Elizabeth May, Sierra Club of Canada.
Elizabeth, I think you'll agree with me that we are becoming more and more integrated throughout the hemisphere and throughout the world anyway. And I suggest to you that if we don't have agreements and if we don't have rules to regulate one another's conduct, in fact, it's going to be worse. The major corporations and the big powers are going to run everything, and we'll have nothing to stand between us. And that's why you come to the committee, and that's why we try and negotiate rules. So I don't think you should be fighting the free trade in America. So that's what I think is great about this summit. For the first time, we're really talking about all those other dimensions that we should be bringing into our lives.
I'm in favor of an international program of rules and regulations under the United Nations that mandate minimum standards for environment, health and safety, child labor, and human rights that all transnationals must abide by, or we execute them. I want transnational corporations to face capital punishment if they will not protect the environment and human rights.
Hold on.
We hold their corporate profits.
How do you execute a corporation?
It's easy.
I thought we were against capital punishment in this country. It's sort of selective. Who gets executed?
Monsanto. Let me explain why. These companies exist by a societal consensus that allowed originally, Christopher Columbus to sail across the ocean with a charter that said we're going to protect you from certain risks. It's a societally endowed privilege to operate as an unnatural person, a corporate fiction. And we have created these entities, and we act as if they have real lives and real rights. They don't. We do. And that corporate behavior is killing the planet. And I want to ask Ambassador Hearst what's going to happen to Antigua and Barbuda if we don't do something about climate change. The same people who are sitting up on the hill right now having lunch are plotting the demise of the planet by continuing to pump fossil fuels into the United States and send them up to destroy the atmosphere. We need to talk about real issues.
Go ahead.